My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Here are three of us, all thinking that we can kind of predict exactly what the teams out there are going to score at the end of 20 overs. So what we've decided today is we're going to take our My 11 Circle badge of honor and send it to Hardik Pandya, or they can split it among all of them. It doesn't matter. It could be Ishan Kishan as well. All it means is it's not the kind of score Mumbai look like getting at even around the 14 or 15 over mark. But we told you so. They've done it before and they've done it again. 92 runs at the back end of the innings, taking them to an even 200 for 5 in 20 overs, making calculations of run rates a lot easier. Ishan Kishan leading the way with 55 of 30, but importantly, he looked like he couldn't get the ball off the square early on in his innings. And then the name that's not on that list of three highest scorers is the impact player at the end, Hardik Pandya, who does it every single time, scoring in excess of 200, 37 of 14 deliveries. Michael Vaughan and Joy Bhattacharjya. Gentlemen, I started by talking about that badge of honor. It's obviously out the window. But yet again, Mumbai seemed to find something in the engine that's at the back.
Yeah, I mean, they've got all the skill and the power. And I think what they do now, they intimidate the opposing team's bowlers because they get so many full tosses because of the intimidation. You know, the bowlers must be running up petrified, just missing their lands by an inch or so, because they know if they do, they're going to be hit into the stands. And that's been proven to be the case on a number of occasions throughout this year's IPL. Delhi, they started poor and then grabbed it back. And, you know, all three of us were in the game at around the 14th, 15th over. Even yourself, Gautam, were probably favourites with your 169 prediction. And then all of a sudden, Hardik and Kishan just started to hit those boundaries, hit the sixes in particular. They're a great team to watch, Mumbai, because they just don't have the fear of the big game. You can see that they're just playing cricket. It's just another game to them. Whereas for Delhi, it's more than just another game. And I think that was exposed this evening. They could certainly chase this target with the batting that they have, but in the field with their bowling, it just looked like they were a little bit overawed playing this Mumbai team tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that innings progression we just saw, Joy, it's most teams would not recover from something under 5 and over for a good period of 3 or 4 overs. You tell yourself, okay, something's gone majorly wrong. We've lost our way, but it's just them toying with the opposition.
Absolutely. When Pollard gets out, everyone thinks, wow, they sit up and they say, we have a chance. And then these guys just motor and take it away. I have a book to show you, though, and there's a reason for this book, Probably the best non-fiction book written on Mumbai is an award-winning book written in 2004 by a man called Suketu Mehta. The reason why I'm showing you this book is it's a terrific book, read it. But this man was a fortune teller. It's called Maximum City because that's what they did. 12 sixes today. 12 hits to the fence today, and 5 of them just by one man, Hardik Pandya. It was absolutely amazing. And it's some of the finest cricket I've ever seen in my life. I mean, how does a guy do that?
Yeah, I thought you were going to pull out a copy of great South African bowling spells in this year's tournament, but that would be such a thin book as far as today is concerned, it wouldn't exist, because the two South African impact bowlers, they've been so good, especially Kagiso Rabada. Have a look at them. Nokia 4 overs, 1 for 50, and Rabada 4 overs, none for 42. This doesn't happen too often. But if it had not been for that spell from Ravichandran Ashwin, who was outstanding to start off with, and a bonus wicket for Marcus Stoinis, this could have been 230, Michael.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, Ashwin was fantastic. He got that, obviously, key wicket early of Rohit. A big player, a star name, been there, done it. He arrived for Delhi this evening. To chase down this target, the problem with chasing over 200, you've got to kind of target every single bowler. And you look at someone like Jasprit Bumrah, it's going to be very, very difficult to face him because you just know he's got the skill, the pace, the variations, the ability to get wickets. And when you know you're having to strike at 10 and over for every over, and you've got to hit it off someone like Jasprit Bumrah, there's no way that you can say, all right, Jasprit's 4 overs, we can hit him for 25, 28 and just allow that. They're going to have to target every single bowler when they're chasing this kind of target. And in particular, that first 6 overs, they're going to have to come out of the traps and get ahead of the trend. So it's so important that Shikhar Dhawan, Prithvi Shaw come out and fire and try and get that momentum, which, sorry, I've used the word, that kind of moment that they've missed in the field back with the bat in those first 6. If they win the first 6, Delhi, it's on. But they could quite possibly lose wickets in that first 6, knowing that they have to get ahead of the rate. and it's going to be so difficult facing the likes of Bolt and Bumrah.
Yeah, the other thing, Joy, with that 200 in 20 overs is the extra insurance for the due. It's not been consistent, but let's assume it's there in all its glory. You've added a few more runs just to allow your bowlers a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, there was due. There was due because I remember early on Nokia right next to the boundary he was running, and he just completely slipped. So there is due around the bowlers. It's not too much so far, but it'll be interesting to see. I think that insurance will be important. I think Michael's absolutely right. You could end up with them collapsing for 130 or 140, but that also for Delhi would be better than sort of crawling to the. They must give it a go, because this is a match they can. It's a knockout. It's not a knockout match. They can lose and still come back. What they'll be telling themselves is, we can't look timid in this match. So far the Delhi bowling has looked, other than Ashwin, has looked timid, and that's not a word you want to use. As they've been overawed. They've been sort of, Bombay has just intimidated them, and I think the batsmen need to come back and send some sort of a message.
Tell me, Michael, in a situation like this, in the league stage, you tell yourself, chasing 200, you're 140 for 6, go and play for net run rate. Okay, that's out of the window right now. But you're not out of the tournament. You know that, yes, if you have no chance of winning this game, you are going to play either Bangalore or Hyderabad in a few days' time. Do you tell yourself, listen, let's at least try and keep some confidence and not go down and lose our confidence?
No, you're ultimately positive in the dressing room, saying we can chase this down. It's 200 runs. The due is going to play a factor. Shikhar Dhawan's got a couple of centuries already in the tournament. Bhimani found form in the last game. It will take one of those two, you would think, to play the big innings, and hopefully a few cameos from the likes of Stoinis, Rishabh Pant, Cricbuzz at the top of the order. But those two in particular, I just look at Ajinkya Rahane. I think he's a wonderful player, but I think he's a 160, 170 style player. That kind of chase. When you start having to chase over 200, maybe he's not the kind of player that you need. But if he can kind of play the stabiliser and bat the full innings and a few cameos around, of course, this is chaseable. You can't think about the next game. You can't think about, just keeping confidence for the next. It's about these 20 overs of being ultra aggressive, run between the wickets hard. If it's in your zone, commit to it and try and hit it into the stands. Just keep it very simple.
Fair point. When someone who's captained an international side in the greatest contest, the greatest cricketing contest on earth, says that in those Ashes contests that we've all seen from a distance but admired, you pretty much know what you're saying. And Joy, very good point from Michael Vaughan there. I might have just thrown that out. You cannot go in with that mindset. They have to be positive.
No, also what happens is 200 is the kind of total that takes all doubt out of your mind. There's no tactical game at all. I mean, you're chasing 10 and over. So you're not going to say get 50 in the first and then let's see, hit every ball you can. That's what it is from ball one. And that in many ways, sometimes liberates players, makes them play simple because they don't have to think very much. If their ball is there, I'm going to whack it. I'm going to whack everything I can.
Now, remember, we had no Bumrah, no Bolt, who were rested for the last game. They're back. But another person who didn't play the last game and hasn't necessarily always been putting his hand up because he hasn't had a chance to. Not been bowling this season, Hardik Pandya. But every time he's got a chance, Michael Vaughan, to go out there towards the end of the innings, just look what he does. 37 of just 14 deliveries. Throw in a few from his brother. Pandya family were excellent today.
Yeah, absolutely magnificent. He's just got a method that works. You can see he gets over to that off stump, sometimes outside. He just waits for that ball in his zones. He's got such quick hands through the ball, great timing. I'll mention. I know we mentioned in pre-match, but Suryakumar Yadav is a high-class player. That innings was special because he again just made it look so simple. Played the spinners with his. Well, he can play them with flip-flops with his eyes shut, with a cigar in his mouth. He's got all the time in the world to hit the spinners to pretty much any part of the ground whenever he wishes to. He's a high-class player, but the whole innings, when you think Pollard missed out, when you think Rohit Sharma missed out, that's the real fear for the rest of the teams in the tournament, that Mumbai can afford to have two of their real key players not striking, yet they still get to 200. Whereas you look at most of the other teams, if you take out two key components of the batting lineup and say, right, those two are not getting anything today, can you still get 200? I don't think there's many teams that can other than Mumbai.
Yeah, good point from Michael. But Joy, just like we spoke at the pre-match show, another outstanding innings, looked beautiful. I love the analogy of the cigar in his mouth. But yet again, it was a very polite sort of nudge on the door of the selectors. It wasn't quite what, I mean, all Surya Kumar fans would have wanted.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and somebody like Rohit Sharma would tell him that you rarely get a chance. You're on a qualifier, you're batting like a dream, and you're 50 not out. Son, don't throw it away. I mean, the next time, just finish it off. Stay there till the 17th, 18th over. Get that big century, because he's done it often enough in this series that he's got to those 40s, 50s, 55, 60s. He needs to just make it count, because somebody like Rohit, when he comes here, you're almost certain that he's going to take it all the way.
With that total to defend, before we get to our My 11 Circle Badge of Honor prediction for the 6-over mark, one from each of you. Key bowler, I mean, Bumrah is the obvious choice, but really, is it going to be all about Bumrah to try and make sure that Delhi don't get off to a flyer?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Bolt's been in fine form as well. Nathan Coulton, they've got quality. They've got all the variations, leg spin, left arm spin. They've got everything covered. Mumbai, that's why they're the champions, and that's why we've been saying for a few weeks that they've looked like the team to beat, because with the bat in hand, they've got all the combinations. With the ball in hand, they've got pretty much covered, and they've got a captain that knows exactly how to win this tournament and how to win T20 cricket games. So it's not going to be easy. I just think they've got a very rounded attack, but Bumrah, Bolt, they're the two that quite easily in the first 6 overs could blow this game away from Delhi straight away by picking up 2 or 3 quick ones.
Yeah, as I give Michael a few seconds to ponder on his possible score in 6 overs, Joy, quick one on Shikhar Dhawan. Not the greatest records in playoff games. So while he is the key, having got a couple of hundreds this season, certainly you won't want to remind the Delhi.
There's not something they'd like to see. But look, I think what they're going to say is that, if you remember, we were talking before the game about the senior pros in the Delhi team who've been in situations like that. So one of them, Ashwin, has done his job. Ashwin has done everything demanded of him and more. It's time for Shikhar to step up and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. You can depend on me. I'm going to be the guy today. So I'm hoping for that record to change tonight. And I think Shikhar is as well, of course. But let's see where it goes.
Yeah, fair point. Remember, we talked about this, the 2 players who have actually been there and done that, while Mumbai have a host of players. It's the entire team that have been experienced enough, and they know that if they can get over the line here, they'll just sit back and watch the other 3 teams scrap it out to see who can face them on November the 10th. So, Michael Vaughan, would you like to go first with a 6-over score, which will, I think, reflect how Delhi are going to go for this 200?
I'm going to say 48 for 2.
48 for 2. Fair enough. I mean, not that we're going to count the 2 wickets against you, but 48, yeah, that should be the kind of score they'd be looking at, Joy. Happy with 48 if you were a Delhi fan?
I'm going to go 61. In for a penny. If they do, they won't. They'll be 14 for 7 money. It could be 20 for 3.
Yeah, well, we saw what happened in the ladies' game earlier today. It was carnage, 47 all out for a team that had just won the opening game yesterday. So it could head either way. I'm going to go a little more conservative, a little more faith in the Delhi bowlers, or rather the Mumbai bowlers, to keep them down. So I'll go for an even 40, an even 4-0, just a little bit under, which is, I think Mumbai would be delighted with that. But just keeping the theme up, Joy, since you pulled out that book on the maximum city, I'd like to pull out the first book that came into my hand. And this is really what happened. There was a lot of anarchy out there. Oh, it was mad. It is. It is. And I'm going to sink my teeth into it. It's been sitting on that bookshelf, and it's time for it not just to be up anymore. I also used it to prop my laptop. I'm going to actually start reading this. Will the monarchy coming? It certainly hope so. Thank you, Michael Vaughan. Thank you, Joy Bhattacharjya. And we shall see you at the end. Of course, a quick reminder, Cricbuzz Combox will come in the 10th over. And then a wrap-up of Qualifier number 1. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.